We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting? Dave makes the motion. Is there a second? Mike seconds. Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Just so everybody is aware, Nicole is on by phone and watching us online. Next is the presentation of the bills. There is one bill that we're going to add on to the line item, and that is to Musco for the $95,000 for the park lights. That one got missed. It's just so that can get sent off.
How's that spelled? How's that spelled?
Musco.
M-U-S-C-O.
Oh, Moscow, okay.
Yeah.
That's how much you said? 95?
95, yeah. With that addition, is there a, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Paul moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mike. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. City Commissioners report. We'll start with Paul tonight.
Okay. On beautification, I don't have anything to report on that. That's really going on right now. We're just waiting. On electrical, Jim, Ashley, and myself did go to the Missouri River electrical area meeting on the 27th. For me, it was very informational. We did start kind of talking a little bit about if there's anything some of the area members could do to work together for maintenance and maybe even emergency services if we need to be. It just started the conversation on that. Jim is working a lot on that, so looking forward to see where that ends up. HEDC, they developed their first drafts on some grant programs for businesses dealing with infrastructure. They've got their kind of first draft out there on infrastructure and then also utility repairs, improvements. So there should be some, if you have issues out there coming down the road here, hopefully they'll have some kind of programs in place to help businesses with those expenses. Also, they're working on the property enhancement project. They kind of got a first draft, and maybe Levi can say more about that when that time comes, because he's in on that. And of course, the HEDC is kind of taking the lead on Jim Murphy's Trail County, the event that they're going to be having at the brewery on November 10th. So hopefully, with the HEDC, they'll have a good presentation to represent Hillsboro, and along with the city, I know has given them a lot of information to help put that presentation together. So, and I'm not sure if anybody's going to that. You're going to it. You're going to it. So we got 2 people for sure going to it. So, and that's on November 10th. So we can maybe elaborate. I don't even know what the technical name of it was.
It was,
Open.
That's terrible. I should know that. You know? No.
Community Showcase.
Community Showcase. Okay. Yep. So.
That's at what time?
2 to 4.
2 to 4.
On Thursday.
Anything else, Paul?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Mike, do you have anything tonight?
Yeah, I was contacted by a realtor today on the property located across from the county shop, the wet wooded lot over there that we've been talking about for years. Anyway, somebody was interested in buying it, and he was wondering what the process would be on it. It's zoned R2 right now, and the way it sounded, they would be looking at putting up a shed in there. Sounded like a lawn service that was looking at buying this, so I don't know. I guess I was just looking to see if we would be interested in changing that before we go any further, because I don't want to go ahead and bring it to planning and zoning and then they don't buy it and then we changed it. So if you think we might be interested, I could call him back and tell him that we would probably be interested in changing that to get rid of it and clean it up. So if you can give me a little direction.
My opinion is that would be something to look at, because it's been a swamp in there for 50 years or longer, as far as I remember.
And it's a pretty good sized lot. It's 200 feet across the front there, so.
Yes. I think we'd have to kind of, or I'd have to see details of
What their plan is.
what their plan, if
Yeah.
it's a,
Yeah. But if we think we might be in agreement on doing that, then he can move forward and I get some more information from him, so.
right.
So. If nobody has any problem with changing that to a commercial lot, then I would go ahead and get some more information.
Well, and the other option, I believe, JR or John, is that we could do a waiver or what, I can't remember, think of the name of it right now. Well, variance, or is it a special use?
Or especially conditional use.
Conditional use, so that way it's only certain things that could go in there, so that it couldn't turn into something that we wouldn't need
Yeah.
also. Instead of changing it, we could possibly do a conditional use, would be another option.
From my standpoint, I'm open to anything, but we need more information.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and give him a call back tomorrow and see if I can get some more information out of them. They wanted quite a bit of money for that thing. I can't imagine somebody paying that, but
I would hope it would come down some, but I think it was 35 or somewhere around in there
Yeah.
that I had seen.
yeah.
The one thing, Mike, I know I talked to you about it, but how do we, the one thing that I want to see from planning and zoning, and maybe the commissioners can talk a little bit about it too, is those building permits that aren't coming in for certain areas, should be our process to make sure that we get them turned in. 'Cause we've had some that aren't turned in, and so how do we get those? We've sent, in the past, we've sent them letters, and if they don't kindly respond, what is our next step? We do have, I think it's $1,000 a day fine, possibly, if they don't, but at what point do we want to go that direction? What steps? So, anybody else have any comments onto that? Or thoughts?
Is that something I should bring to them next week,
Yep.
next Monday, and
Yep.
bring it back the following week?
Yep, I think that's one thing that we need to work on.
Okay. That's all I got.
Dave?
Nothing that's not on the agenda.
Nicole, do you have anything?
I do not.
Okay. I am moving forward on the budget and finding out where we're completely at. We're getting closer, but it's gonna take quite a bit longer for me to get all together. I'm working with Ashley and Sarah and Julie trying to get numbers so that we can get it more finalized, and figure out where we're at, we're still going the wrong direction as far as the spending wise, but I'm trying to figure out ways that we can ultimately turn that around to make sure that we can take care of things. Like some of the things that we could look at in changing that we didn't always know about before is we have that generator fund that does have a fair amount in there. I did reach out to Marcy Douglas with MRES to see what we can do with those funds if we could use it. We can use those for other things, but the other thing that she had mentioned is that they're looking at adding an incentive or some type of program to possibly add more generators on in the future next year. So we got to keep that in mind also. So there's some funds there because every month we get just about $12,000 from Missouri River to help with in that fund. Wanted to give you guys an update on Anchor. I've been in contact with them quite a bit off and on for quite some time. And we also did get a call from the Department of Environmental Quality. There was a complaint or violation, possible violation turned into them for Anchor ingredients, and we did work through that. Department of Environmental Quality is fine with the actions that we have been working with so far. They understand that we have been addressing the issue and we are working towards that, so they don't see anything with that. Talking with Everett at Anchor, they were planning on shutting down this week to put in the equipment. It finally did come in.
Over here.
For over here, yep. But they also said it may not be the plant itself, it may be when they're loading radio cars that is causing the issues. So they're gonna do some remedies or try to do some things to help alleviate the control on that, so. Just wanted to give you guys an update on that we are moving forward with that.
I did get one complaint on them last week, and I drove by, and what they're doing is, when they're loading the semi trucks, they've got their auger way high in the air, and it's just, when like a wind like yesterday, and not even a wind like yesterday, but, and it was just blowing it, all the dust was going to the north, so if they could figure out some way to, put some kind of chute, something that is not 5 feet above the truck, that would help, I think.
Well, and I think that's part of the whole issue that Everett and I have been trying to figure out is what was the actual complaint. Because nothing has been really narrowed down, so they're trying to fix things that they weren't sure was going to remedy something because they're not sure what the actual complaint was. If it's just dust coming over, well, is it coming over all the time? Is it coming when they're loading cars? Is it? And that's what they're trying to get it figured out. So.
Well, the complaint was the dust, but what you're saying is dust is obviously the complaint, but it's where is it coming from is what you want to figure out.
Right. Is it all the time that the dust is there? Is it certain days of the week? Is it certain times of the day? Trying to just narrow that down, trying to figure it out.
And
Have you reached out to them to find out if they could narrow that down or not?
They're working on it. They're trying to. They've already.
No, to the gal that was in here complaining about it with her camper.
I have not because I don't have contact
You know,
information. But
There you go,
I'll
because
get-
she might be able to help narrow that down. Be
Well,
at least worth asking.
yes.
Mary, correct?
Mary Parks.
All right. That is all I have. Jim, do you have anything tonight?
The only thing I have is, I sent you all an email today. I missed reporting what it would be our third quarter disinfection byproducts results. They sent me a letter, requiring us to notify all the public. So we will be mailing out, notices, a one-page notice that explains we missed the deadline, and then we need to put it in the paper The samples were taken, the results were all good. I just forgot to submit the results. It was 2 weeks late, so nothing to be alarmed about. Just wanted to let you guys know that when it shows up, that's what's going on. I have sample results. If anybody would like them, I'll supply those. And that's all I have.
So we have to be on a certain timeline then, or,
Yeah, we apply, or we submit quarterly reports every year. And we had a busy October. I've got a pretty good track record. That's the first one in 28 years, so. But I missed it. So be it.
well, you're on top of it, so.
Yep.
Okay. JR?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Ashley, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, Nelson submitted their request for the sewer and water project over by Nelson's and Breen's, that water main, that got completed, and we got the final bill, and I, passed out the spreadsheet that I created, and sent to both Breen's and Nelson's. They were separate ones, obviously, since there was separate, items on it, but Nelson's have answered me. Front page is there, is the total sewer split that everybody, with the city doing 50%, Breen's doing 25, and Nelson's doing 25. Total cost of the project was $73,185, which leaves the city's share with $36,592.50, and then Breen's and Nelson's share is both $18,296.25. And I put together a table for them so they could calculate out what they could afford each month. And Nelson's would like to do a total of 216 monthly payments and a total of $84.70, which would carry them through 18 years. And JR will draft up a contract and put something in there in case they move or sell the property, to make sure that the city doesn't just get left with this or nobody ends up paying for it. I'm just wondering if I can get approval for them to pay at this rate, or would you like me to go back and renegotiate? And this is just for Nelson's share.
You see a problem with that? No.
Completely up to you guys what you want to extend as terms.
I'd say as long as we have it, so that it's covered if it was sold or anything happens that, because ultimately, we can always go back on the tax roll if it
Yep.
doesn't.
Correct. I would foresee it as we record something against the property record so that our interest is shown of record. Then if they were sold or changed, that's going to show up. So it'll be addressed at that time then, no matter what.
Do I have a motion for approval then? Unless
So moved.
Paul moves, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second moved by Dave. Any other discussion?
Just note that that's Nelson's.
That's Nelson's
Right,
only.
right. Yep, Nelson's only. Just wanna
Yep.
Make sure that's clear.
Mike,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
and a yes for me. Anything else, Ashley?
No.
Okay, nothing on the sheriff's department side. Steve, do you have anything tonight? There's only one Steve tonight, so it shouldn't be.
The other Steve's gone. I just want to give you a quick update on two projects. The water and sewer project that Breidenbach Construction is working on, or was working on. Progress is slow. They're waiting for, they pulled out a month ago, and we're working on a different project. But I talked to Neil this morning, and he's planning on being back here. He was hoping to be later this week or this week. He said his intention is to get the water main across I-29 installed yet this fall and get that hooked up, and then the sewer, concentrate on the sewer lines that are crossing the fields and get them done this fall or later. Before, he's gonna work as long as he can into the year and get them pipes put in. He probably won't make any sewer connections this year. What he'll do is try to get as much pipe in as he can and then wait till spring to make all the sewer connections, but that's his plan. So if he gets back and starts working on it, that should be good. The other project, the pedestrian bike path, we were out today doing survey work for the sidewalk that's gonna hook up to the pedestrian overpass. So we beat the snow on that just by a couple days. And then we'll follow along with the design of the sidewalks as the DOT project progresses. Keep on schedule with them. There's some middle dates, like January, February, that we need to follow along with. But the construction of the overpass wasn't gonna be until 24. They just wanted to get everything in place ahead of time, so. Then I had some SRF stuff, but it's later on the agenda. I'll come back.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. There's no change on the beautification tickets, so I think we'll postpone those till the next meeting. Railroad Park update. The beautification asked to submit to the Community Foundation for a grant for that project, so that was submitted on that behalf. And we are still waiting on the finalization of the contract. I did talk to the district railroader about the contract a little bit. He said as far as the people being on there, it was just the contractors when the fence was put up. It's not for everybody, is how he explained it to me. So that we shouldn't have a problem with that. It'd just be anybody that's doing contractor work where they'd be on there. I think once the fence is up, then it would be okay. We also talked about this pile of dirt out here, just because I had a concern from a resident that said that we have a pile of, or when in the spring of the year we get a ton of water that builds up in there. So the pile of dirt is there for us to use to fill in if we need to make sure that we can get that level and graded to the correct elevation. And he was more than willing to give away the dirt as long as you guys are okay with that. Dirt isn't always free all the time. So.
No, it isn't.
Anything, other questions on Railroad Park on that update? Okay. We'll go on to the FEMA disaster relief. I believe Ashley has everything submitted. We're just waiting to get everything put together.
So I have weekly updates with him, and tomorrow I'll find out. He was reaching out to Corey for a few things at the county, but all the paperwork is signed. We can no longer add anything onto the tracker. Now it's just a matter of getting him whatever he needs on his end, and we have 6 months to get everything done. And I know they're working on getting an actual estimate written up for the tree debris removal underneath the bridge. So that's what we're waiting on.
Any questions on that? Okay. All right, then our next item of business is the bid or the work to be done or looked at behind the alley by the grocery store, Vets Club, Bank, and Hill House. Jim, if you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I dropped the ball. I don't have the estimates in front of me, but we've been working with mainly Miller Food. They've had some issues over the past few years with water collecting in the back alley, and at times comes into the store. We've been over there a few times looking at what we could do. It's got to the point where there's really nothing we can work with there. It was asphalted years ago, broke up, pushed up. You almost have to get rid of the asphalt before you could do it. If you overlaid it, it would just raise it up more. So I reached out to a couple companies and received 2 quotes. The first one was for 10,000, I think 900. This would be the whole alley from Caledonia to First Avenue. First quote was $10,915, and that basically was just milling it. And then I had our asphalt guys look at it, and they came back with a quote for $7,600, and that was reclaiming it. They said they could go down if needed 10 inches, which I don't think you can see gravel under some of the areas. Grade the area, again, $7,600. So, there you go.
So what are we trying to accomplish?
We're trying to accomplish so that the water doesn't pool in the center of the alley, that it goes either north or south. The alley to the south is high. The apron is really steep. We thought, best case scenario, if we could mill it and remove some of that, or put a swale in it and get the water to run south. And someday maybe that apron is beat up, shot, and redo that also. But right now, there's really nothing we can do. You could come in, like I said, and pave it. It's not a level base, but they could pave it and make it pretty. Basically, getting to raise it up. This is my idea to start. If you don't do anything, I mean, you'd have to mill it even if we decided to pave it, to grade it and get a good grade on it, to try to get some better drainage back there.
Rick, do you want to come up?
Can I sit here because of my back, please?
Try to speak really loud then, Rick.
Okay, I will. If I can just give you a little bit of history on that alley. Back in, I think it was 86 or 85 when Harold Rocco was the mayor. That alley was all just gravel, rougher and heck, potholes all over. And we had water problems then. And they come in and they put leveled the gravel the best they could and put a layer of blacktop. And again, that was in about 86. There was nothing underneath it but more potholes, gravel and stuff, so it was just a layer put down, and there has been nothing done to it since. And the problem we were having, not only with water retention and running in, was the fact that it was so dirty and dusty in there that it would go up into the, when people would drive through it, not just trucks. It would go up into the air conditioning vents up on top, and we constantly had problems with that. So it's had next to nothing for maintenance for, what, almost, I'd say 35, 36 years.
Yeah, it was paved before I started, I know
Yeah,
that.
that's when it was done, because I got with Harold Rocco.
The other gray area also is, you know, my understanding is we don't maintain the alleys, except if there's a fire hydrant in that alley, and then the question of is where the garbage trucks run. You know, are we, because we're offering that service, are we required to maintain those? The alleys came up when we did the paving project 15, 20 years ago, and nothing was done with any of the alleys at that time, but that's maybe something that we need to readdress, is whether we're going to maintain those alleys where the garbage truck goes.
And the, if I can interject just a minute, those alleys were used a lot for the semis in those days, but I put a loading ramp in, and that made a lot of difference in how much traffic we had, like pop companies that they'd come in from the bankside, just back right up in there. But there's a lot of traffic from the apartments, and the bank would have cars going through different things. It's not just grocery store related, but it hasn't had any maintenance to speak of in close to 40 years, so it needs it.
I did have a conversation, or he one of the contractors in town had contacted me because they had did some work previously in the alley, and they said there's a lot by the map. Ashley has it, but she can share it out to everybody. Eventually, you don't have to do it right now, but there is big elevation changes in that alley. And so I think we needed, one, I don't think we should do anything yet this fall, because if you want to. One, I want to see that we get our budgeting figured out before we do any more projects. Two, I'd rather see us figure out and do this the right way instead of just trying to do something, so that we can get everybody on board, and maybe then we can do a cost share or work together with the Vets Club and Miller's and whoever owns the bank property, or if the bank still owns it, the apartment, and then that residence there, to try to figure out a compromise or a way to get everything done so it's done right.
One other thing is, like Jim alluded to, you go south and it goes up. And if you come in, if a semi is going to come in from the north, or a truck, they're gonna get hung up down there. The old timers know that you come in from the south. And they just had one that got hung up not long ago, right?
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah, and he come in from the wrong way, but there is a elevation to the south. So when you look at that, you'd have to think about, if you're cutting it down, you'd have to cut it quite a bit to the south.
Right, and then I think that's where we'd have to look at where Miller's has their exit out of that end and different things. So my personal opinion is that I think we're better off figuring it out completely before we move forward on something. But I would feel comfortable in us moving forward at looking at what we need to do for our next year project.
Will that be satisfactory if we look at this more
Oh, absolutely.
next year?
Yeah. Well, and our big things too, who owns the alley,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
JR?
I actually figured that out today. I got a hold of the recorder's office, and that alley, according to the recorder's office, that is not a platted alley. So everybody, all the property owners own from their property up to the midpoint of the alley. So everybody is actually responsible for their portion, is what the recorder's office told me today.
I agree with you, Levi. I think we should hold off
Yeah.
until we get all these things figured out. Because now they're talking snow, so I don't think we're gonna be doing a whole lot with it
The
anyway.
two things, again, I want to emphasize are, you guys need to decide about garbage truck traffic. And they're not the only trucks that go there, but you've got 2, 3, 4 other alleys downtown that the trucks go through. I mean, you can see where they're hammering the streets. You know they're gonna hammer the alleys. And then, another thing too, I think, is, you guys need to look at those. There's a slab back there that needs to be fixed, and do some of that before the work is done, so that we can do all we can there, and then it's sloping back into the building. And I do have a contact if you would like to look at, they can lift that slab, they can jack it up without replacing it, if that would be something. I have a number that they would do. And then the other wrench in the works is, I just received a text this afternoon, and it says they'd like to shoot the grade to see if it would work, but right now it's too cold, so they're not gonna be able to do it. So I guess we're gonna end up waiting.
I think as long as they're okay with waiting, I'd like to talk a little bit about, because I know that Vets Club is looking at fixing their slab, and maybe for a more permanent fix, maybe we look at next year of asphalt, or not asphalting, but concrete all the way up to that dumpster and the loading dock, you know, in that alleyway, because most of that's all concrete already there. And then if the elevation, depends on how that elevation comes out, is that a high point there and that'll run towards Caledonia? Or we don't know until we get those elevations.
Go back, take
But I
some
think
shots.
for long term, especially if the grocery store is interested in doing a cost share on that. That might be a more permanent fix for that area. Then they're not backing their trucks in the mud and hauling that onto the parking lots and everything too, and it'll just be a nicer fix there if we can work together on that. But I too do agree we need to fix the problem, not just patch it. So,
Okay,
And then, like Jim says, we're gonna have to figure out what we are going to do with those alleys, so.
yes, that's the next thing. I just made a note for our data set. We should figure out, Jim, which alleys you think we should take care of. So we can say that so that we know going forward, you know, so it's kind of written down that we know that this alley, we've decided that we're gonna take care of these alleys, whether it be behind Napa. I know he was in asking too about theirs. So, you know, I think we should make that clear so we don't have this.
unless you want.
And I think we do own that. I think if you look at the plotting mats on that one, I think that one probably is not the ownership of the businesses, when you look at it on the, yeah.
Paul, we also, when you're talking about that, you also have, infrastructure money through EDC, right? I mean, if we wanted to, when we look at it.
Oh, yeah, for them, yeah, for Millers, yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
If that project goes through, you know, if that, it's still being worked, but yeah.
Yep,
Well, and the other thing is we have to look at considerably is that alley has a lot of utilities in the back of it, so we probably should, if we're doing that, should we do some of our utility work while we're back there?
A lot of questions. It's a good thing that the snow's coming on Thursday. You don't have to worry about it.
But, Dave, would you like to spearhead that portion of the project, or this part of it, to get everybody together?
As
As far as working with getting what we can do on that alley and
sure, yeah.
working with the Vets Club and Millers and the bank and all those businesses, and then trying to get, does that work for?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, do you guys have any questions from the Vets Club? Concerns or anything, Terry, or?
the only thing that I could say is, if you do this, you need to figure out what the base is below that alley, because it won't do any good to fix it if you don't have a base. When you got these heavy trucks driving in there.
That's pretty much
Right.
the way it is on the base, yeah. You're exactly right.
Anything else on, is everybody in agreement to have Dave kind of work forward and spearhead this portion of it? I won't call it a project, I'll call it a task force, since we said no more new projects.
Well, it won't cost anything to
Right.
talk to people, so.
Exactly. All right, is there anything else on that? Then we'll move on to the mobile home utility rates. Hillsboro LLC has written a letter to the city of Hillsboro. Some of the very similar issues, complaints that have been in the past. With the feeling of being overbilled by hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past 20, 30 years. Back to 1999, now I'm dating myself. It's just about 30 years. The biggest issue complaint is the numbers aren't completely right. John and myself and Ashley and Sarah and Julia have all been working on it. We haven't come up necessarily with a final thing because we don't know. We were hoping maybe he would show up tonight, but nothing.
Who you,
The Hillsboro
Hillsboro.
Hillsboro, that's
LLC.
what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
As far as what I can find, we are billing correctly. The only thing we would be off on is some light poles that were counted wrong, which would be minimal. But we'll still work with him, and John might have more to speak on that if he so chooses. biggest complaint is they feel that they should only be charged for 2 hookups because they have 2 meters. They do not believe that they should be charged the 22 or 26 units like we do for everybody else. If it's an apartment building and there's 8 apartments, we charge $40 per hookup, or not hookup, per user fee is what we call it. Per resident, per family dwelling, whichever you want to call it, but it's $40 per family dwelling or apartment building, or, and so their feeling is that they shouldn't be charged 26 or 22, depending on how many are there. They should only be charged $80 total for the 2 meters that are in. And so that's where the majority or the bulk of the rates are off. Even though in the past, when it was a no meter, they were fine with, there's 26 units, they got charged the 18 or whatever the standard rate was at that time. So we're still working with that. John, do you have anything else that you want to add?
No, I don't. I haven't heard anything from Mr. Block today, and I think you summarized well what the issues are. It's user versus hookup, as you pointed out, and we have in our ordinance that we bill according to users. Obviously, that increases the rate considerably, 2 versus 26 or 22. That's really the issue is rate, and I think Steve will back me up in saying that, you know, our rate is based in part on what it takes to pay for our water plant.
Right.
And, you know, if we go with 2 meters for the trailer park, we do the same for everyone else that has 1 or 2 or 4 meters where there are multiple family dwellings, and the money has to come from somewhere else then to pick up the debt service costs, and our attempt is to treat all of the users equally in our water billing.
And I want to just get the general feel of the rest of the commission, but this is my feeling on it. I had a couple residents reach out to me about it just because they heard through the grapevine there was some issues. My personal feeling is that we cannot hold the residents of the trailer park hostage by shutting off water to them because of failure to be paid for by their landlord or the agency. We have other means that we could go through to make sure that the bill is paid. We can always put it on the tax roll and lien it against the property. So my personal feeling is that we shouldn't at any point use the threat of shutting off the water at the trailer park because
Hillsboro hasn't paid.
because Hillsboro hasn't paid.
I agree with that.
Anybody else's feeling or thoughts on that? Mike and Paul?
I think that's always been, we dealt with this, we went through this a number of years ago. It's the same thing.
I just want to make sure that we were hopefully all on the same page. Nicole, does that sound okay to you?
Yes, yep.
Okay. I guess, Paul?
Yes.
I just want to make sure that it's there and we're not, the residents don't worry that something's gonna happen and they won't have water one day. So.
Is there any chance we can get the history on this? Somebody could write a little history about what this is, because he said he dealt with it before.
Well, yeah, all you have
We
to do
have
is,
all the paperwork between me and John and in my office if you'd like it.
Well, I don't want, I just want kind of
Paul,
a timeline, so to
It's-
speak.
I don't want to be here
basically-
till midnight.
It's the same.
No, I don't
issue.
want it now. I'm saying down the road.
It's the same issue. He feels he's being overcharged, and we've
Mhm.
explained to him, this isn't West Fargo, this is Hillsboro, and if they do it in West Fargo, that's, we do it different here. Yeah. So, but
Okay. Anything else on that? We'll move on to the Special Assessment Committee. On that one, we do need to find another individual as one of them has resigned. There was a misunderstanding of what the duties were. The individual thought it was just for the street project, which it's still there, but we're not moving forward on it too far yet. So we'll open that up. One of the thoughts that I had was maybe to reach out one of the 2 new residents that will be in Riverwalk to see if either one of those would want to be interested to be on it, being that they'd be part of those new specials that would be on out there. So I haven't had a chance to do that, but that's the update on that. Next item, unless anybody else has any questions on the special assessment. Okay. Next item is to look at our Blue Cross Blue Shield dental rates comparison. We need to change. Is that correct, Ashley?
We just need to, it's open enrollment, so we need to decide if we're gonna stay with our current one for dental, and I printed you guys off a spreadsheet, and I sent all the documents that the Blue Cross Blue Shield lady gave us when she met with Sarah and I. So the plan we have now is Blue Dental Elite, and right now per individual we're charged $45. So then family, we're charged $112.50 per month per family. So I broke it down into the 3 types because the next one would be Blue Dental Preferred, and that that one would be individual $41.10 per month and family $102.80 per month, which is the exact same benefits as the one we currently have, except for the premium is a little bit lower. And then if we bump up to the Blue Dental Preferred, that one actually the annual max is actually goes up to $1,500 instead of $1,000, and then the orthodontics jumps from $1,500 to $2,000, and for individual per month that's $45.10, which is a 10 cents increase from the current one that we have. And for family it's $112.80, which is 30 cents increase per family. And so I put it into a chart to break down what the difference is if we were to go to the enhanced out-of-pocket and ortho, which would be the orange section on your sheet for the dental. I hope I didn't confuse anybody.
So we don't have to change, it's just open enrollment time.
Right, I have to let her know by the 1st of December. So if you guys want to take this and ask questions and then decide at the next meeting what we'd like to do, we can do that too. And I can sit down and go over what she did with us as well. Right now we have 4 individuals on just single plans, and we have 6 family plans. So you guys don't have to decide tonight what you want to do. You can take it home and digest it. I just need to give her an answer before December 1st on if we're going to stay the same, go to the proposed plan with less premium, or go to the proposed plan with the enhanced out-of-pocket feature and for and orthodontics.
I assume that they are proposing it because they must be going away from this at some point.
She didn't say, to be honest. And I did put this in the packet as well. I don't know if you guys saw. This is our current versus what we have now. And then on the back side is the vision rates.
The only thing I would be concerned about is the preferred provider and what it would cost you guys out of pocket if you use the one in town, the dental office in town.
That one is a
They both are.
for both. There's only one dental in town.
Right. What I'm saying is, if you move to this one, is it a different?
Nope, cause I asked and she said that the dentist office here is under the preferred, provider. Yep, so he would be covered, cause that was my first question, since we do have a dental office in town, if he was under, and he is one of the preferred members or whatever that is, so it would be covered at the better cost.
What are on the vision ones, you have Blue Vision Premium and the Blue Vision Essential. Which ones are which on the other one? You don't have a name on them unless I'm not seeing it on the dental.
So, the proposed plan, sorry, I guess I forgot to put that on there. So, the green one, that'd be the current dental, so that would be the Blue Dental Elite Plus, Blue Dental Elite Plus, so that's more at the top. And then, the proposed plan, that's the same as the current, only with a less premium, but has everything else the same, that's the Blue Dental Preferred Plus. And then the proposed with enhanced is the Blue Dental Preferred Plus with the enhanced annual max of 1,500 and the ortho of 2,000.
I would think with the minimal changes that, or the minimal cost that it would cost us to go up to the preferred, or the proposed plan, the enhanced out-of-pocket for dental and the Blue Vision Premium, I think we could make that work for everybody, cause it's less than $300 more for all families, but that's just my opinion on that. Anybody else?
And you've talked to Jim's people too, and because you had just earlier said that you and Sarah had gone through this, so I'm just assuming that.
With the lady met with us. She came
Okay.
in to meet with us. I haven't went over it with anybody else.
Oh, yeah,
because-
to see if they have any.
No.
Can I ask if, these ever get quoted with other insurance companies?
There is a preferred provider list, and there's a non-preferred provider list. So depending on who your doctor is, if they're on the preferred provider list, they would be covered at,
No, I mean like companies like Stanford or Medica. Does any other companies ever take these deck pages and quote what their rates would be?
I don't know, haven't been here long enough to deal with other companies, but any other company I've dealt with, Blue Cross has always had the best insurance.
We did look at it a couple of years ago, but the employees at that time didn't really want to change, so we didn't look any farther than that.
Okay.
Chuck?
Listening to this, she mentioned there was 4 singles and 6 or 10 families.
6,
How many employees we got in the city?
10.
So the commissioners aren't involved in this at all.
2 are grandfathered in.
What do you mean
Is
grandfathered
my-
in?
Before I started, I am told that both Dave and Mike were grandfathered in when they upped the insurance and stuff before I came on. And so Dave and Mike both get individual insurance.
How much of it is paid by the city?
All of it.
100%?
Yes.
I think the city, when worried about a budget, better start looking at some of the people that are working for the city here. If they want to be on the commission should be the thing they're on. They get paid so much a month for it. If they do extra work for the city, they get paid for it. But as far as giving extra benefits to commissioners after they've been on, and I don't care if you've been on for 20 years, that's too long anyway. I think the city, when you come down with this budget, you better start reviewing it pretty damn nip and tuck, because this is getting ridiculous. We're giving everybody a handout. It costs money.
I will add that we have to have a certain amount of employees to get these at a discounted rate also, and I can't remember if it was like 10 or 11. So we're like at the max, or we're at the cutoff.
Have you ever checked the Delta Dental, the company that covers about 70% of the dental in the US?
I have not, because nobody's asked me to, and this is who we've had. I can definitely look at that if that is what the commissioners decide, but we've always had Blue Cross since I started here, and she came and just showed us what our options are, and so I said I would bring it to the commission.
I think there's gotta be a whole lot of investigation going on here into what we're offering, who's getting it, and if they're gonna get that, why are they getting it? But that has nothing to do with Delta Dental or Blue Cross. I got Blue Cross myself, so I don't care, but for 47 years I had Delta Dental. And they paid 100% of what I did. That's just the way they were now, but that was different plans as well. You had your, I don't think it was elite or anything, but there's stuff out there that's gotta be looked at, and somebody's gotta get the wherewithal to start looking at these things.
Thank you, Chuck. I will tell you that looking through the budget, that those are some of the things that I'm looking at, and it's taking a very, very, very long time to get through everything. But those are some things that I am concerned about and looking at and seeing what we can do. That's all I can say at this point with it, because I don't want to say out too much because I don't have the numbers. I don't want to give you anything that I couldn't stand behind.
No, I don't wanna throw any false hopes out, but hey, being a city commissioner is being a city commissioner. If you're just on it for the freebies, then let somebody else have the job. And I mean that sincerely.
Commissioners, public, any other comments, or would you like to entertain a motion at this point? What we would like to do? Or we can table it till the next meeting.
Can I just request that it be tabled until the next meeting?
Yep, we will table it till the next meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, next item of business is two things on the fire marshal's inspection. So the property at 202 2nd Street Southeast, we did have the fire marshal, and I had reached out to Jamie Reed, our fire chief, and asked him to take a look at two things because we had some complaints or issues that came up. And at 202 2nd Street Southeast, they didn't go into the property. That's the house that had that fire this summer. They felt pretty confident that we would, it would be one that needed to be condemned or start that process. And the only reason that I had reached out is I just wanted to make sure that we didn't get fallen behind like we have in the past. I know there was talk about stuff doing it, and then Dave, you might have some more on that. That you said they may be looking at doing this fall, but
Yeah, I talked to a contractor out of Mayville, and he said that the homeowner has talked to him about tearing it down, but they probably won't be doing anything until the ground freezes, so they don't tear the yards and stuff up, so.
anything else on that? I know there is a process, JR, and we just have to follow it as we move forward, but that, I think the first step was the fire marshal looking at it and saying, or our fire chief.
Yes, I can forward you a checklist on what we have for the dangerous buildings, but looking at it, making sure it's the process to move forward is qualifying it under the ordinance is the first step.
Right.
I don't know, there's two more buildings on there, back by the alley. Is there two sheds back there?
There's a shed and a steel garage.
Yeah. So do we look at, possibly condemning that other garage back by the alley while he's in there tearing things apart?
As you said, if he's gonna do anything with that little shed, I guess I haven't asked him. I will be seeing him this week, I can ask him.
I haven't talked to him.
You know,
Is
I
there
think he's-
concerns that it would be one that's not?
It's not much of a shed,
no,
really.
I think it's got a dirt floor in it and,
Because I believe then that would have to be a different process, because we'd have to go through, our building inspector would have to look at that, being that it didn't have
unless,
a fire with it, unless they automatically did it. But if Paul
yeah,
if maybe Paul just talking to him, if you
Yeah,
know him.
I can ask him what his intentions are there, and of course, you know, he told me too that he was planning on tearing it down. And now Dave's heard it too, so he must be.
And
in
it's
the
not that I
process of doing it,
don't
so.
trust what they're doing, and I just don't want us to end up,
Mm.
we know how things can get behind, and then it becomes 5, 10, and we've dealt with that in town before, so I just wanna make
Mhm.
sure of that, so. So I think our next step, we'll have Paul talk about it and kinda go from there. The next item 2 is Dollar General, and I know, I don't believe, Nicole, you were on the email, but we got a email from KVLY news reporter about the Dollar General, as they did a news article, a news story on it a few weeks ago. It was the first that I had heard of it, as far as complaints being from there, so I had reached back to the reporter and said that we will look into it, and so we did. There again, under our ordinances, we could look at it through the fire department and health and safety, and so Jamie, our fire chief, and the fire marshal went and looked at it at the same time, and so we are waiting on their final report before anything could be done.
Correct.
But there was several issues and complaints, so once we hear back from that, we can move forward on that. They did say that part of it is they don't have enough employees, and partly that the company was sending them more stock than they could get through or get stocked back on the shelves, so.
They send them 1,000 items a week, whether they're asking for them or not. And they just don't have any place to put it.
Right. So we will keep on that, and as soon as we hear the report back, and then we'd have that same process that, you know, once we get there, we can get through that process, but, this is the first step, so. Any other questions, concerns, comments on that? Rick?
Isn't OSHA looking at this Dollar General? I thought I heard something on the news that OSHA's also investigating that and looking at it seriously because of people could get hurt, or the employees could get hurt. Stuff's piled up all over the place. You mentioned 1,000 items. Well, that sounds like a lot, but 1,000 items isn't a lot. Years and years ago, I'd get two big trucks a week, and each one of them carried 1,000. Plus, I'd get meat and produce, and that carried quite a few. So, really, I've heard that too, Dave, where they say they're getting more stuff than they know what to do with. But 1,000 items sounds like a lot.
And I suppose it's like everywhere, they just, you know, they don't have the employees to put them away, whatever.
We should be happy we got the store rather than not have it at all.
What's that, Nicole?
You know, I've talked to a few employees in and out here and there, and from what I understand, one of the issues is workforce, of course, which, you know, everyone's having struggles with that. But I know they've made comments before that Dollar General only gives them so many hours for payroll, which stretches them a little thin. And they have purposely closed the store so that they are forced to reject the shipments. So I don't know, you know, from the aspect of Dollar General, you know, kind of, I think they need to kind of compromise a little bit and open that up for employees too. But those are just some of the comments that I have heard and understood from some of the employees there.
Thank you, Nicole. And anybody that's watching and listening, I hope that if there is concerns out there about issues that you're not getting, we will hear them. Not saying that we can always do anything about it, but we will investigate and look into things and do what powers we do have to take control and enhance. And if it is OSHA, I mean, that's above and beyond what we can handle at our level, but we can handle the safety concern as far as through the fire department. So, unless anybody else has anything else, we'll have that on for the next item or when we do hear that, get that report back. Then we'll go on to the last item with Steve, the 2023 Clean Water State Revolving Fund. We did submit for this last year and we didn't get approved on all 3 of them last year, correct?
Nope, yeah, we submit them, so it's time to submit them again. There's 3 different projects that we had on there, and we're not committed to accepting or funding or going through with the projects if we get on the list. But if you're not on the list, you can't get funding or grant money if it does come down. So we're putting them back on again, and the one was Loyal Avenue, stormwater lift station and stormwater issues. One was replacing aging manholes around town that are brick manholes, and then the other one was stormwater improvements. And before we put that stormwater improvements down, that was part of the paving project to see if we can get some grant money for that. But now we're kind of looking at doing a stormwater project separate, so if we do get money for that, we can get some grant money or something, we can evaluate it and see if it's something we want to move forward with.
So Steve just needs approval from us if we would like to submit those again.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes the motion.
Second?
Seconded by Mike. Is there any other discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
And a yes for me.
And if there's any other projects you want to add, we can always add them on. We have till the 10th to submit.
Of November?
10th of November.
Geez, you gave
I
us
don't
a
think we'll
lot of
think of
time.
it.
Hearing none, we'll just go with these 3. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. All right, last item. Does we have any citizens that would like to address the commission tonight? Seeing none, we'll.
I got one comment I'd like to make. I think that Chuck kind of alluded on it a little bit. You know, when it comes to Dollar General, that's a pretty important business to these small communities. And I'm hoping that Dollar General sees the situation that they have and how important they are to these communities, and maybe they can, in the higher ups, see the need that they maybe have to change something to improve what they're doing there, because it is important. And I hope that Dollar General sees that and does something to change their business plan, so to speak, to address some of these issues, because these communities, they're important to these communities, and I think that would be in their best interest to hopefully change some of that, whether it be.
Dollar General's fully aware of what's going wrong.
Right, right.
It's just the fact that when you have thousands of stores, you don't flip a switch and change everything
Right.
overnight.
Right, yep.
And I traveled till a year ago, and just about every little town I went into, about the only thing left now was a Dollar General.
Right. Mhm.
So granted, they might not run the cleanest ship in town, but the average person could go in there and didn't feel robbed when he left.
Right.
So it's one thing to criticize and try to bring down something, but, and I'm great at that, but I'm also one that will stand up for something that's gonna be good for the community.
Right. And it is an issue of, it can be an issue of just having the workforce too. You know, I could imagine just, they might even be having an issue just, I know at one point they were having an issue just getting people in there to work, period. You know, and now if you having to get people in there to help stock, you know, and things like that, I think that there's, you know, and maybe these are things they've been around for a while, but maybe because of the work shortage, maybe these things that they have to look at, you know, look what's going on. Is it because they're selling so much that they just don't have the manpower to restock the shelves in a timely manner because they're selling an awful lot of stuff goes out of that store in a day?
I think you're absolutely true there, plus the fact I understood secondhand from an ex-employee that they're gonna probably nationwide close so many hours certain days of the week just to stock.
Just two stock, yeah.
And I think we've already seen it out here where
Mhm.
we've probably seen a noon to 5 on I don't know what day of the week it is, but I've experienced that and
Mhm.
I lived through it, but if they're trying to get ahead of it, you know, more power to them. God only knows, we need every business in this town we got.
Right. Yeah, and speaking as a customer and a member of the community, we hope that they can get a solution, because they are very important to these communities out there, and I hope they realize that
Another thing
we
you
wish them the
see-
best.
Another thing you see too, Paul, is people leaving there and going money than if they've been working there for a while. You gotta get their pay scale up to keep people. You can't, I don't care if it's city or if it's a private business or whatever. If your pay scale isn't there, then you're gonna see turnover. Turnover costs money.
I think that's all good input, and I'll keep moving forward on it. And, but some of that is out of the city's hand, and by any means, I'm not trying to get Dollar General to close or anything like that. The fire marshal is just to make sure that it's safe for our residents to go in there. So. If there's not anything else, I have motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Our meeting is adjourned. Thanks, before.